What happens if you wait 2 years to grab a perfect monitor for yourself? Well, it drops by the price, and this current model right here dropped by $200 euros and is currently around 250. Today we're going to talk about a 2-year-old monitor, which is Cooler Maste GM27-FQS addressable RGB. Now, I was kind of laughing when I saw it in the title. It says addressable RGB, but it's kind of cool. I do have to admit, it is kind of cool. So we have addressable RGB bottom part of the stand, and it's totally separated from anything. It could have been done a bit more smoother, but they have a cable here running out of the stand, and this gives you an option to connect it to your PC and use the Master Plus software to control the addressable RGB. When we discuss the GM27-FQS, we're talking about a 1440p monitor, which is 27-inch flat screen. And when I say flat, well, basically it is flat when you're looking at it this way. But looking at it this way, it's really thin. It's incredibly thin, and I'm quite surprised. And then we go to another segment where we have a thin monitor, but you have additional adapter on the side that you have to place it somewhere to be able to power it up. So apart from having it, clean as it is, because this looks outstandingly clean, subtle bottom line, thin bevels around all three sides, cool stand, as you've seen in the past reviews, which were much newer models than this one. I think Cooler Maste is sticking definitely with this stand because it does look kind of cool altogether and a subtle way to, you have a Cooler Maste monitor, you know why. Now, when we go further, it has 165 Hertz. We're having 1 millisecond response time MPRT. It supports G-Sync and FreeSync. Contrast ratio is 1000 to 1. WQHD, so 2560 times 1440. Color gamut DCI-P3 is 90%. We have 165 Hz ultra speed IPS panel, has low blue light mode, and I already mentioned, but you can control the lights with Master Plus. If you don't want to, you can just simply disregard the cable, remove it somewhere safe or whatever, place it back inside the box, and you don't even have to turn it on. Unfortunately, the newer models are the ones that have those cable shrouds here in the stand where you could actually pull the cable from the keyboard right beneath it, and I think that was something in the future comparing to the 2-year-old monitor. But let's go further. So it has 75 times 75 VESA mount. So I think most of the VESA mounts, arms and wall mounts are having 100 by 100 and 100 times 100 and 75 times 75. And I think some of the VESA mounts actually have those expansions where you could actually somehow modify it and extend it to from 100 to 75. But you don't have to worry about it. Viewing angle is 178 degrees horizontal and vertical. Tilt adjustment from -5 to +20 degrees. Height adjustment is from 0 to 110 millimeters. But if you take into consideration the height that is current, this is the lowest point of the monitor and this is the highest. So honestly, this is quite tall, I do have to admit. So I was expecting it to go a bit lower, but regardless of that, in this position, in the lowest position from the table to the bottom part is 12 centimeters. So the highest point is 23. Then we have a swivel, -15 to +15 degrees, and you can rotate it only on one side, which is still okay. When we're talking about the ports, you have a connection for the power, so the standard smaller jack that has to go inside. Then we have two USB 3.0 Type A, one USB 3.0 Type B, one USB Type-C, two HDMI 2.0, and one DisplayPort, and finally one 3.5mm jack as well. So when we're talking about connection, actually surprising to see a Type-C connection on a 2-year-old monitor. Regardless, that's why the price was back then at that stage. I mean, I'm not saying only for the RGB, for the stand, for the rotations, for the connections, and specifically for the Type-C, I'm talking about general. Now, out of the box settings are okay. I really don't have anything to add. The only thing that kind of is strange. They have an overdrive, but it kind of affects the whole picture and everything. And you have loads of ghosting happening when you enable overdrive. So the first thing that I would suggest is basically disabling it, and that will be it. Then we have peak brightness at 300 nits, but I think I mentioned that the HDR it has HDR10, but when you enable HDR, since the peak brightness is 300 nits, when you enable it, the screen kind of dims out a bit and it doesn't look that good. So for the price tag, when we take into consideration 2 years back, this monitor costs around $460. 2 years later, it's around 259. So around. So it could be 250, 259, 270, whatever. But regardless of that, we're having a WQHD resolution. We're having 165 Hz, 1 millisecond response times, ultra speed IPS panel. Viewing angle is there. We don't have to discuss that. I love the stand, love the design. I have to admit that everything, when we take into consideration in general for Cooler Master monitors, the quality and the design is really there. You can't find a certain piece that will be, I don't know, flimsy or whatever. But I think I need to mention the stand, right, and the unboxing segment as well. So when you take apart everything, I mean the box, you get the stand separated from the arm, which is connected with some sort of a thumb screw at the bottom. So you just tie it up with your hand. It's really not that difficult. But the a bit interesting, let's say interesting part is that when you combine these two, you have to pull out this screen out of the box. Of course, how you're going to do it is that you're going to use the stand and place it on the monitor. Next thing is that you have to use 4 screws and tie up the stand at the back to the monitor. That's it. So my suggestion, leave the monitor inside the styrofoam in the box. Just open the foil and push the stand first inside and then tie it up so you can actually pull it out, because it's really I think it's really unnecessary to fiddle around and to remove the monitor, because you won't be able to place the screen on the table. You might damage it or anything similar to that. So my suggestion is do it like this. In general, in gaming, what I noticed is when you remove the overdrive, it's really nice. It really does work outstandingly good. And I really like the colors. I wouldn't adjust anything because I'm always trying to look out of the box and how it actually performs in that segment, and the colors are really nice, and there you really won't make any mistake. Okay, DCI-P3 is 90% comparing to the past monitor that I review, which was much higher, but regardless of that, I'm comparing a €1,000 monitor compared to this one, which is currently 250. So yeah, this goes down to the point where you can easily switch now from 1080p to 1440p, get an insane refresh rate, get insane response time, uh, quite slim design, and you can VESA mount it, of course. Eventually hide the adapter, but that's something that, because of the thinnest design, you have to sacrifice something, right? I mean, there is a huge box at the back here, which is a bit thicker than the actual panel, but all in all, I think, yeah, I just have to go. I don't like the adapters in general. I have 3 at the back, which I'm really not satisfied with that part. But you live with it and you hide it somewhere just to make your setup kind of nice. The RGB is cool, and it's a cool addition, I do have to admit, which all comes down to personal preferences. If you don't want it, I'm just going to show you like this. You just plug out the cable and that's it. Let's sum it up a bit. We have an outstanding visual aspect when we're talking about final finish and the actual design of the monitor. I really dig all the Cooler Master monitors with this stand, because it kind of does, screams Cooler Master, but it doesn't actually say with letters Cooler Master, which is kind of cool and a subtle way to give some brand notice, even though it's standing in your room, right? But regardless of that, then we go with the panels. Ultra speed IPS, have nothing against it. The blacks are there when we're talking about entering some caves, as I already mentioned in like Witcher 3, or when we go into some, I don't know, Star Wars, whatever you wish and desire. But since we're having a ultra speed IPS, and we're having 165 Hz, we're having 1 millisecond response time. I think this would be quite solid, and I'm saying solid, for casual Battle Royale FPS games, because it will pick up the pace. And if you still have something in the lower category when we're talking about components, all these specs will fit just perfectly fine for 250 euros dollars. And regardless if it's a 2-year-old monitor, it really goes into that segment where it has nice specs. HDR here is totally irrelevant, so I wouldn't even consider turning it on. And yeah, that's it. Shame I can't give it a badge, because in terms of 2-year-old monitor and having 250 price now, if it was back then it would be definitely a best buy. But apart from the badge and all the other stuff, this monitor is quite solid even now. So yeah, if you still want, or this goes into your budget category and you want to have this type of monitor, you can check the link in the description below for more information, price, current price, because I don't know if it will change again. And that'll be all for today. So if this kind of gives you more idea about this monitor and helped you choose something, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, click the notification bell, so I can see you next time in a new video, because there will be more Cooler Master stuff right behind that camera right there. See you guys. Bye bye.